This is Things You Might Not Have Heard from the Conversation Project. I am Jacob Payne. Of course, Conversation Project is your home for headline news, information, and pop culture references that are worth chatting about. And today we are chatting about a lot of things. Now, this was a odd weekend where there was some activity, and the groundhog, which comes out today to tell us the weather. The groundhog that was the news going into the news cycle for February did do some things. We have some things there as well. That groundhog named Donald J. Trump. But we are going to do a whole lot, and we're going to call it a dump because it is a dump of Epstein files that were dumped this weekend. He gets a lot of love, which is a weird way to say that going forward, but a lot of attention in the weekend that gets all wrapped up into a big Trump thing as well. But we are focusing on a lot of Donald Trump things that seemingly are small but are happening. ICE at the Grammys. There's a whole lot of ICE at the Grammys this weekend. And the Jeffrey Epstein files that are being unredacted, maybe. We'll talk about that in a bit. I want to remind you that our home website is thisistheconversationproject.com. You visit our website, you will see past episodes of this thing here, plus some other things we have done, and our words and stories, and way you can help out to support the causes we have here. Including very soon some revamped entries for our Buy Me a Coffee sponsorship program and some other things as well. Also, check out our website for partners and other sponsors. We will talk about our main sponsor, our main spotlight sponsor we talk about every single day essentially here, and that is Ground News in just a bit. Right now, today is the second day of February. Yes, the groundhog will tell us what the weather is today, and no, it will not be the AI generated groundhog that PETA wanted. So we're not there yet. But let's get to where there is right now. Our first story starts with Donald Trump and a late night, early morning tweet that came out this morning, or whatever we call these things. The Kennedy Center is going to be closed for 2 years, beginning on July 4th, because, and this is following some performer backlash. So says Trump. Actually, Trump says it's going to be closed. This is following performer backlash. The headline's a little bit convoluted, but it's all mixed into the wash. The Kennedy Center, the Donald Trump Kennedy Center, if you will, is going to be closed starting in July, according to Donald Trump, over mounting performer backlash and program governance decisions. That's why no one's showing up. But since no one's showing up, we're going to shut it down for 2 years. So Trump framed the closure as set for renovation, a necessity that's there. The timing follows some public withdrawals and some protests by artists who are unhappy with recent changes. So since it's empty, let's go ahead and fix this thing up the way Trump likes it. The move effectively resets the venue's calendar for 2 years, displacing touring productions and some long practice residencies. There's also a lot of teaching and a lot of things that happen inside the Kennedy Center 24/7, 7 days a week that won't be there because they won't be housed for a bit. Some cultural leaders are warning that the shutdown risks reputational damage beyond the physical renovation period. Yeah, you can't go to the theater for a couple of years. That makes sense. But the fact that all the work that's done at and through the Kennedy Center will not be done at or through it for a while or at all is a big deal. The announcement folds arts administration into a broad political fight after the public, institutional, and control, i.e. when Donald Trump took control of it and basically just said, we're going to play this thing like I want to, and just basically has, I don't know, Kid Rock concerts all there all the time. It turned into a big deal. Questions remain on whether the closure will quiet the backlash, whether people will actually sort of tamp down and set the temperature down a bit because it's closed, or whether it's going to amplify it by, of course, removing this platform altogether. Without the Kennedy Center to perform at, without the place to have as a center stage, will people notice, or people just wait for this new solid gold chairs to be installed into the building? Because there will be a lot of gold, because this will be done to Trump standards. Grammys happened last night. We'll talk about a big winner in a bit, but right now let's talk about the battle that was between Donald Trump and Trevor Noah mostly, and ICE. Trump labeled the Grammys unwatchable and singled out Trevor Noah after a joke to reference Epstein in the night. The remarks revived Trump's long-running critique of award shows and the cultural hostility spaces they are, essentially because they make jokes at folks, and he's one of the folks that make jokes at, and you can't make a joke at Donald Trump, which is why we have him running for president. Thank you, Obama. Focusing on Noah specifically, Trump shifted the story from ratings to perceived political bias. Basically, the Grammys are losing ratings. This is the last year the Grammys are going to be on TV, I think. Everybody's moving to streaming, so I think the Grammys is one of those. This is the last year that Trevor Noah is hosting the show. So he basically went out with as many bangs as he could, and Trump tried to take advantage of that. The Grammys did not respond to the Trump bashing, allowing criticism to circulate unchallenged. There was a lot of anti-ICE said at the Grammys. Big winners, including Kendrick Lamar and Bad Bunny and Billie Eilish, all had a couple words to say about ICE in the process. Basically, they should not be there. We will see how ICE will factor in Los Angeles next week during the Super Bowl, and we'll see how ICE will factor going forward as well. We'll see how Donald Trump will factor when he battles whoever he wants to battle in the realm of public opinion, going back and forth to whoever he thinks he can take on in these days. We're sticking with media, Hollywood more or less, and actually going back to the Kennedy Center. A few days back, the screening of Melania happened. Melania, the documentary, posted some strong opening ticket sales, despite the oddity that it had mixed and mostly bad reviews, and no one seemed to show up to watch the movie. One of the biggest things on social media were people showing screen grabs of movie theaters that had sold no tickets for this actual movie. However, with a large opening weekend and a large platform and a lot of theaters be out there, there was enough for a documentary to score about $7 million for the opening weekend, which is not bad for a documentary. Most of these times, these are put out there for free. It will be put on it for Amazon for folks to see in a few weeks. Remember, Melania got about $20 million for basically showing up, and the movie took about $75 million plus her salary to produce and make in the 3 weeks running up to the second election, the second inauguration. Performance of the actual movie, suggests there's curiosity and political interest that outweighs the early critical skepticism. People actually might want to see it. They just don't want to necessarily pay to see it. High interest subject because she is Melania Trump. People want to know what's going on, or people say they want to know what's going on, despite the fact that many people in the high places did not show up for the premiere, have not showed up any much love into the premieres that are out there during the weekend. $7 million is not much to really sneeze at, except when your project costs $75 to get it off the ground. We'll see what happens when it goes to the actual streaming platforms. Will the numbers, will the idea that people watch it on streaming pick up, or people shun it there as well? Let's sneak in a little bit of political news. In Texas, Democrat Taylor Rehmet has actually flipped a Republican state Senate seat, a local seat, mind you, in a county that Trump won by 17 points. He flipped that seat with Trump won it by a whole lot. He was able to pull it for this term. The upset signals localized voter movement rather than a uniform parts a swing in the state. There's still some back and forth on whether Texas Republicans cannot carry Texas Republicans places across the national platform with the new maps put it out to make it so that more Republicans have better chances to win. It looks like it's still going to work that way. Although there was one Democrat who won some sort of seat in the House that is going to make it the numbers a little leaner. And right now, the big fight in Texas is whether Jasmine Crockett has the push to become a senator as opposed to a representative, and should she have stayed where she was. We'll see how that one plays out. Can she take on a Ted Cruz? Or actually not Ted Cruz, take on the other guy going forward. But Republicans are basically reassessing the turnout and messaging in districts on the local level to make sure that local levels things stay as red as possible. This is an anomaly. They'll say it is. But what it is a wake-up call that everything in Texas is not going to stay red forever. And it shouldn't be. They should actually pay to play when it needs to be out there. But this is one case where they have to figure out whether they are losing spots, or if this is just the normality of after enough time, things have to flip. Before we take our pause in a moment, we want to put this story out there because it's still growing, it's still out there. There's still issues with it, but we do have a semi-resolution, a sort of happy ending at the moment to deal with this story right now. And that is the 5-year-old boy and his father who were taken into custody in what was the craziest situation you could think of, and now back in Minneapolis after a few weeks of ICE is just getting crazy. Let's start from the beginning. The 5-year-old boy and his father were returned to Minnesota after being released from federal immigration custody. They were sent to Texas in a very strange case. The case drew attention due to the child's age and the length of the detention of the child per se, and not so much for the father, even though the story that was played out that they tried to play was a bit of a funky one, if you will. Advocates cite the situation as emblematic of family separation pressures within the system. Federal officials said that the release followed routine case review, not any policy changes. They didn't do this to make things better. They just did it because after a while, you just got to let people go. Community groups coordinated housing and support for the family upon their return, make sure everything is great. And this will fuel the debate over detention standards and families. The short version of this was, you saw the original picture of the young man, the 5-year-old with the blue hat there, came with his Spider-Man backpack, with his hand being held by ICE agents because his mother would not take him in. That's not exactly what happened. What sort of happened was, while this man went to pick his son up from school, ICE came out there, he ran and left the boy. Not exactly great. They took the boy home to his mother, knocked on the door, and had the boy say, "Mom, let me in." But mom figured they were just going to open the door and then take her as well. They had another child, an older child, that they were that at school they were trying to get gathered to get him home without any incident going forward. And in the incident, since mother didn't open the door, ICE had to take the kids somewhere, and that was the story. ICE had to take kids somewhere and take care of him, so they put him in detention near his father. That is the story. We will continue to carry this story and bother you with this story because you will continue to bother me with wanting to know about this one, as this is definitely one that counts as conversational, a cultural pop reference that people think is worth chatting about. We take a quick pause in the middle of every one of these shows. I ask you to like, share, and subscribe to the work we do at the Conversation Project for this thing here, things you might have heard, things happening going forward. We got a like on Facebook today from Bernard B. My mouse is too big, so it won't show me what it is. So from Bernard. So thank you, Bernard, for liking what you're doing here. That's what we need you to do. Like, share, and subscribe to the work we're doing so that more people can possibly see it out there in the ether. The algorithm sees the thumbs up or thumbs downs or the little mean faces, and it thinks that more people want to see it for some reason because they like it, they love it, or they may hate it. If you share it directly with like-minded people, that also helps as well, because that way they can engage in it, they can read it, they can listen to it, they can comment back and forth as well. Now, if you are going to be one of our ride or dies, help us go forward, we need your subscription to get the numbers up, to get people going. Yeah, subscription is a vanity thing here, but YouTube still gives out buttons for 100,000 subscriptions, and we're not there yet. And we want one of those big old play buttons for right back here. We're at 3. So we're 97,000 away. So help us get there faster by subscribing to us on YouTube or on Facebook or X. X is having some existential crises right now, if you will. So X isn't quite as useful as we'd like it to be. However, X is still there. We love X, as nasty as it wants to be. So like us on X, on YouTube, on Facebook, and then make sure you share and subscribe so that you can get a hold of us in your feeds directly, not just by some random sharing of a friend or a algorithm like on that day. We're going international, and this is where I usually get myself in trouble because people say, why do we care about these things? Well, the scope of these things usually come back to haunt us in the way that we help other people and we don't help ourselves. Let's talk about Gaza for a quick minute and the border there. As the Gaza border crossing in Egypt is reopening, and it reopens under a truce with limited Palestinian access to this space. The Rafah crossing, which has been in really big disarray and really big discrimination lately is now open again between Egypt and Gaza after the truce with United Palestinian Access. It's limited Palestinian access, if you will. This essentially got kicked into place when the last known remains of the hostages from the October 7th edition was released and turned back over to Israel. This was essentially what triggered that truce, and now they're opening the gates to hopefully get more aid in quickly. Priority was given to medical cases and select humanitarian movements to get their stuff in and out as quickly as possible. Officials are stressing that the reopening does not signal a full normalization of border traffic, just a sort of open peace for the moment. Aid groups say restrictions still leave many residents unable to leave Gaza, which is sort of the problem. So many people are still trapped there, and the conditions are getting worse as days go by. The crossing status is tied directly to the durability of the truce. We'll see how well these truces go. Not so well so far, and any expansion will depend on security assessments and diplomatic coordination. So the talks between the Palestinians and the Israelis are still going on to make sure that they are holding on to their truce issues. The talks that will be intervened by us, U.S., to kind of keep the peace will be there. And, of course, Donald Trump has already said it's time to open that Gaza Riviera. It's time to get to work. He's trying to line up some people to start building now so that we can get that big Trump Hotel Palestine fairly soon going forward, along with the updates to the Kennedy Center, because, you know, now is the time, apparently. SiriusXM probably owes you money. And despite that, they have agreed to a $28 million settlement with subscribers to get some money back in some people's hands. They probably owe you money for other things. There's plenty of things they owe you for. But this is one thing they've sort of not quite agreed to say they did do, but they put some money down to just make it go away. SiriusXM has agreed to this settlement over subscription practices, essentially calling up people and telling them things that weren't quite true when there's time to up their subscriptions. The deal resolves claims related to billing and cancellation disclosures. Eligible subscribers may receive a refund of credits depending on their account history. Maybe they'll get money, maybe they'll get some credits if they're still attached to it. SiriusXM, of course, denied wrongdoings. They said they are still not saying they did anything wrong, but agreed to settlement terms to get people to shut up about it. The case highlights growing scrutiny on subscription-based business models, all of them, and Sirius is just one that's been out there for so long and has been doing the dirty for so much time that they are exactly one of the first ones getting caught trying to take care of it. Sirius is fighting for its life, and as a fan of the service, I use it in my car. I listen to it when I'm at work, to the stations there as well. Radio on football on the radio is based off of SiriusXM broadcast, football of all cases, college and pro football. So it's what I go to for my love of hearing sports on the radio. What it is, it's also kind of a racket. It's the only thing that exists. And the fact that, back in the day, if I wanted to subscribe, they basically give it to me for free for 3 months. Shows you just exactly what they were doing to keep those subscriber rolls up. So you may not be that far off in thinking that you're owed a little cash from SiriusXM. Check out the website, see if you qualify, put your name in there, and see what happens. Quick look back at the Grammys and Steven Spielberg, who's now in Tracy Jordan territory. Yes, he is. He wins a Grammy and officially joins the EGOT club, the great stature with that status. The award recognizes a spoken word or music adjacent project tied to his film work. Steven joins a small group of spanning film, television, music, and theater folks who have the EGOT. They have a Emmy, they have a Grammy, they have an Oscar, they have a Tony. The win was met with cross-industry praise rather than competitive controversy. Essentially, anybody can get all four of these things together, no matter how they do it or what they do. Essentially, they get a standing ovation across the board. Nobody hates an EGOT for all practical purposes. And it reinforces decades-long cultural influence across all formats. The fact that Steven Spielberg's been doing this for all of us a long time over all the platforms is just sort of shown there in this win. So congratulations on this one. New chapters will be formed. He did not do a lot of anti-ICE stuff, just to make sure that you understood that he wasn't a part of that. This story literally jumped up at me, and I didn't know what to do with it till I took a little time to go into it and think, yeah, this is a conversational thing. This is interesting. Nepal travel executives have been arrested in what's being called $1 million fake mountain rescue scam. How can you be fakely rescued from a mountain for millions of dollars? Let's go deeper into the story and talk about it. Nepali authorities arrested travel executives accused of running a fake mountain rescue scam that was worth millions of dollars in the process. Investigators say the staged emergencies were used to trigger insurance payouts. Scheme allegedly targeted climbers on popular Himalayan routes. Officials warned that the fraud undermined trust in legitimate rescue operations. People really weren't in bad shape, but they flew a helicopter anyway to bring them down because because the insurance company would pay for it and they didn't have to basically trek down. The arrest may prompt tighter regulation of expedition companies. The people out there who are there just in case something goes wrong may get a bit more scrutiny because the people out there to scam insurance companies like these guys exist. International insurance are reviewing their past claims that are linked to Nepal rescues and trying to see whether they can pull a little extra money back because of a fake rescue. Maybe a call was put out because a CEO was just tired and bored and didn't want to walk down the mountain, so they flew up in a helicopter and they charged it to the insurance. We'll see how that plays out very soon. Not exactly a great promise, but as promised, we're going to talk Epstein and Epstein victims specifically. Their attorneys are going to court to force the DOJ to remove public files website of the latest dump of materials. 3 million files, 3 million pieces of information were released on Friday. A nice Friday dump for people to kind of go through the weekend and really have a crappy weekend just sifting through Epstein junk. But the attorneys for the victims are asking the court to basically pull them all. Even though there is a law that says they must actually put out more, and Todd Blanche went on Friday saying that that's all they're getting. There's more, but they're not getting any. Attorneys want this stuff to go away because the job done was so poor in the execution. They argue that the files that are there and the site that as it is exposes sensitive information and re-traumatizes the victims. DOJ says the files serve transparency and public interest goals. Everybody wants to see the Epstein files so everyone can see the Epstein files. Even when redacted information is wrong, they don't redact the right information, or they just leave out just flat out people's addresses and names so they can be accosted. The dispute centers on access versus privacy for the victims of abuse. And it's that simple. There's so many documents in this dump that just have been poorly redacted, poorly edited, poorly lined out so that the information that is there is easy to pull off of public information and find people and accost people. This ruling could reshape how high-profile case records are released. Remember, this was a law signed by the president to say release them all, and they were late. They still didn't release them all, and did a bad job of saying they must by law redact things, and redacting things very, very poorly in the process. If you hear a news story or see a podcaster talking about something that's in the news, and you may think, I don't know about that. We want you to use ground news to fix it for yourself. You can find out whether you believe what they're saying or not believe what they're saying by using ground news to search the web for the types of stories that you want to see more information on. Ground news will give you aggregated news content from all stories from across platforms that are national, that are local, that are international, and basically whatever story you're looking for, whatever podcaster who's talking, whatever headline, they'll have it covered at Ground News, plain and simple. You'll be able to see the money, the influence, the businesses, the people behind the platform you're getting your news from, and you can tell whether you want to trust those guys or not, or trust them more or not. And if you use something like their blind spot feature as a part of their Vantage plan, you can just get a pure listing, a pure filling of stories that are being sent to you that, beyond your notice, are being sent to you to influence you because they want to be more red than blue, or blue than red, or less blue than red, less red than blue. Something that a particular bent wants you to see and get all riled up about and not see other things. We can give you a great deal on that one. We want to help you out with that. We use Ground News every single day as we sift through our news stories. And we want you to check it out by going to our website link. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. What you'll get from them through us is 40% off their Vantage plan. So that's there. What we get from them through you is a small commission back for you stepping in the door. It's that simple. We all get to love the news, work with the news, and find more great stuff and not so great stuff in the news using Ground News. So our online home for all things with the Conversation Project specifically, and we have larger homes with More Better Media LLC, but is theconversationproject.com, or this is theconversationproject.com. And our email address is conversationinbox@gmail.com. Chat is up anytime you feel it, because we are here for you to chat up and be conversational. Find us on Facebook and X and our feeds, and we're going to post every 50 minutes or so news headlines of things we're looking into talking about later on that we'll put out either in our hot takes, or did a hot take on the Kennedy Center as that popped out late yesterday, and other things as well, or in this wrap up podcast that we have here every single morning at 5:30 a.m. Mondays, we give you 10 stories because we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Every rest of the week for Tuesday through Friday, we'll give you 8 stories, because it'll be just a day plus a couple hours going forward. And these are stories that you, in your engagement, showed us were conversational. So hopefully we picked the most conversational ones. You let us know in the comments and in emails, and we'll do our best to pick better ones in the future. That simple. Welcome to your February, second month in of this 2026. It is Groundhog Day, so it is 6 a.m. Central Time. I'm pretty sure Punxsutawney Phil is coming out of his hole right now in Pennsylvania. And so as soon as I get off of this, I'll turn there and they'll be holding up that one. Of course, there's the one in Georgia and the one in Tennessee. And I'm sure there's plenty other less famous groundhogs who want their say too. So we will see what the groundhog says. After the 6 weeks of winter we had and a full week last week, we can use a whole lot less. Although I think we're getting Arctic blast at the end of the week again. So what am I to say? We'll find out in a few hours which gopher, which rat tells us which. In the meantime, love you, mean it. That's all I got. We'll see you guys tomorrow.